The 1970s gave us some of the most beautiful and memorable songs in music history. But behind many of these beloved hits lay stories of heartbreak, loss, and tragedy that would break your heart. From the death of childhood friends to unrequited love that drove musicians to despair. These songs were born from real pain and genuine sorrow. Here are 15 songs from the 1970s with tragic backstories. Number 15. The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia by Vicki Lawrence.
That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia.
When Vicki Lawrence recorded this haunting murder ballad in 1973, few could have predicted it would become her signature hit. Written by her friend Bobby Russell, the song tells the dark tale of a man who returns home to find his wife cheating, leading to a tragic chain of events involving murder and wrongful execution.
That's the night that they ordered the innocent man.
Russell crafted this story as a Southern Gothic tale, drawing inspiration from the deep-seated traditions of murder ballads that had long been part of American folk music. The song's narrative structure, with its shocking twist ending, reflected the harsh realities of justice in small Southern towns, where rumors and prejudice often carried more weight than facts.
Oh, don't trust your soul to no backwoods Southern lawyer.
What made the song particularly chilling was Lawrence's matter-of-fact delivery of the story. As an actress and comedian known for her work on The Carol Burnett Show, she brought an unexpected dramatic weight to the material that made the tragedy feel immediate and real.
That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia.
The song's success was bittersweet for Lawrence, who found herself forever associated with a tale of violence and injustice. While it gave her a #1 hit and established her as a recording artist, it also typecast her in a way that was difficult to escape. The tragic irony was that her biggest musical success came from a story about how quickly life can turn dark and how justice can fail the innocent.
Oh, don't trust your soul to no backwoods Southern lawyer.
Number 14. Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves by Cher. Cher's 1971 hit might sound like an upbeat anthem, but it tells the heartbreaking story of a young woman born into poverty and prejudice, struggling to survive in a world that judges her by her circumstances rather than her character. Written by Bob Stone, the song draws from real experiences of people living on society's margins. The narrative follows a girl whose family travels from town to town, facing constant discrimination and hostility from settled communities. The tragic element lies not in any single dramatic event, but in the grinding daily reality of being treated as less than human simply because of how you live and where you come from. Stone had witnessed this kind of prejudice firsthand during his travels across America, meeting families who lived nomadic lifestyles and faced constant suspicion and outright hatred from conventional society. The song captures the pain of being judged before anyone bothers to know who you really are. For Cher, the song resonated on a personal level. She had grown up facing her own form of social rejection and understood what it meant to be looked down upon by people who considered themselves respectable. The success of the song was particularly meaningful because it gave voice to people whose stories were rarely told in popular music. The tragedy of the song lies in its continued relevance. The prejudices it describes against people who live differently persist today, making it both a period piece and a timeless commentary on human nature's darker impulses. Number 13. Midnight Train to Georgia by Gladys Knight and the Pips. Behind this soulful 1973 classic lies a story of dreams deferred and love's difficult choices. Originally written by Jim Weatherly as Midnight Plane to Houston, the song was inspired by a phone conversation with Lee Majors, who mentioned that his then-girlfriend Farrah Fawcett was catching a midnight plane back to her home state.
On the midnight plane to Houston.
Weatherly transformed this casual comment into a deeply emotional story about someone whose dreams of making it in the big city have been crushed, forcing them to return home in defeat. The tragedy lies not just in the failure of ambition, but in the ripple effect it has on relationships and loved ones. When Gladys Knight heard the song, she connected with its themes of displacement and the tension between pursuing dreams and maintaining relationships. She changed the destination to Georgia and the mode of transportation to a train, giving the song a more soulful, rootsy feeling that matched her own background. The song's emotional power comes from Knight's interpretation, which emphasized the sacrificial love of the narrator who chooses to follow their partner home rather than abandon them in their moment of defeat. It's a story about how love sometimes means giving up your own dreams to support someone you care about. The tragic beauty of the song lies in its recognition that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away from everything you've worked for, to be with someone who needs you. It speaks to the painful reality that not everyone's dreams come true, and that failure can be devastating, not just for individuals, but for everyone who loves them. Number 12, Behind Blue Eyes, by The Who. Pete Townshend wrote this haunting ballad in 1971 during one of the darkest periods of his life, capturing the isolation and misunderstanding that can come with creative genius. The song emerged from Townshend's struggles with depression and his feeling that people saw him as angry and destructive, without understanding the pain behind his artistic expression.
To be faded, to telling.
Townshend had been dealing with the pressures of fame, creative expectations, and personal demons that made him feel disconnected from everyone around him. The song became his attempt to express the loneliness of being constantly misunderstood and judged by people who only saw the surface.
No one knows what it's like to feel these feelings.
The tragic element of the song lies in its raw honesty about mental health, at a time when such discussions were taboo. Townshend was essentially pleading for understanding and empathy, revealing the vulnerable person behind the rock star image. The song captures the exhausting burden of maintaining a public persona while struggling privately with depression and self-doubt. What made the song particularly poignant was how it resonated with countless listeners who felt similarly misunderstood and isolated. Townshend's willingness to be vulnerable in his songwriting created a connection with fans who were dealing with their own emotional struggles, but had no way to express them. The song's enduring power comes from its universal themes of loneliness and the human need to be truly seen and understood. It serves as a reminder that even those who seem to have everything can be struggling with pain that others never recognize or acknowledge.
No one knows what it's like to be the bad.
Number 11, Torn Between Two Lovers, by Mary McGregor. This 1976 hit captures one of the most emotionally devastating situations anyone can face: being genuinely in love with two different people at the same time. Written by Peter Yarrow and Phil Jarrell, the song explores the agony of a woman who finds herself caught between her steady, reliable partner and an exciting new love. The song's tragic power lies in its honesty about the complexity of human emotions and relationships. Rather than presenting a clear-cut situation of good versus evil, it acknowledges that people can develop deep, meaningful feelings for more than one person, creating an impossible situation with no winners. McGregor's vulnerable performance brought genuine emotion to the material, making listeners feel the narrator's pain and confusion. The song doesn't offer easy answers or moral judgments. instead focusing on the genuine suffering that comes with being forced to choose between two loves.
Mustn't think you failed me just because there's someone else.
What made the song particularly heartbreaking was its recognition that no matter what choice the narrator makes, someone will be deeply hurt. The tragedy isn't just in the potential end of relationships, but in the knowledge that pursuing happiness might cause pain to people you truly care about.
Torn between two lovers, feeling.
The song struck a chord with audiences because it addressed a situation that many people had experienced but few were willing to discuss openly. It gave voice to the internal conflict that comes with complicated relationships and the guilt that accompanies having feelings you can't control.
Loving you both is breaking all the rules.
Number 10. Killing Me. Softly with His Song by Roberta Flack.
Killing me softly with this song, killing me softly.
When Roberta Flack recorded this beautiful ballad in 1973, it became one of the most emotionally powerful songs of the decade. Written by Charles Fox and Norman Gimbel, the song was inspired by Laurie Lieberman's experience of seeing Don McLean perform live and feeling as though he was singing directly about her life.
Strumming my back with his fingers, singing my...
Lieberman had attended a McLean concert and was so moved by his performance that she felt he was somehow reading her soul and expressing her deepest feelings through his music. The experience was both beautiful and devastating. Beautiful because she felt truly understood. Devastating because it made her confront emotions and memories she had been trying to avoid.
Killing me softly with his song, killing me softly.
The song captures the bittersweet experience of hearing your own pain reflected in someone else's art. It speaks to the power of music to reach into the deepest parts of our hearts and bring to the surface feelings we didn't even know we had. The tragedy lies in the vulnerability this creates, being emotionally exposed by a complete stranger's song.
Telling my whole life with his words, killing me.
Flack's interpretation brought even more emotional depth to the material, her voice conveying both the pleasure and pain of recognition. Her performance suggested someone who understood exactly what it meant to be emotionally undone by a piece of music.
Singing my life with these words, killing.
The song's enduring appeal comes from its celebration of music's power to connect us with our deepest selves, even when that connection is uncomfortable or painful. It reminds us that great art has the ability to strip away our defenses and make us feel things we've been trying to forget.
He was strumming my pain. Oh, he was singing.
Number 9. Timothy by the Boys.
Timothy, where are you?
In 1970, the Boys released what might be the most disturbing hit song ever to crack the top 20. Written by Rupert Holmes as a deliberate attempt to create controversy, Timothy tells the horrifying story of 3 miners trapped in a cave-in, with the clear implication that 2 of them resort to cannibalism to survive. Holmes crafted the song specifically to generate outrage that would get it banned from radio stations, believing controversy would translate into publicity and sales. The song's narrative follows 2 survivors who emerge from a collapsed mine, with Timothy nowhere to be found, though Holmes was clever enough to never state explicitly what happened. The tragic irony was that Timothy became the Boys' only major hit, forever associating them with cannibalism and preventing them from being taken seriously as artists. Their attempt to shock the music industry into paying attention worked, but also trapped them in a box they could never escape. Number 8. Cats in the Cradle by Harry Chapin.
The cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue.
Harry Chapin's 1974 masterpiece began as a poem written by his wife Sandy, inspired by her concerns about busy fathers who miss their children's important moments. She wrote it after observing the strained relationship between her ex-husband and his father, both so focused on careers they never made time for each other.
When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together
When Harry set the poem to music, he was deeply affected by its message, recognizing his own tendencies to prioritize work over family time. The song became both a warning to himself and a cautionary tale about fathers who promise they'll have time later, only to discover later is too late.
You see, my new job's a hassle and the kids are the flu, but it's sure nice talking.
Tragically, Harry Chapin died in a car accident in 1981, when his son was only 9 years old, making the song's message even more poignant. The man who warned about missing precious time with children had his own time cut short.
And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue.
Number 7. Vincent, Starry, Starry Night by Don McLean.
Starry, starry night.
In 1971, Don McLean created one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking tributes ever written about a tortured artist. Inspired by reading a biography of Vincent van Gogh, McLean was moved to write a song that would challenge the common perception of the painter as simply crazy, and instead highlight his illness and the tragic circumstances of his life.
Reflecting Vincent's eyes of china blue.
McLean was particularly struck by learning that both Vincent and his brother Theo suffered from mental illness, making him realize that Van Gogh's behavior wasn't just artistic temperament, but the result of a genuine medical condition that wasn't understood in his time. This revelation motivated McLean to write what he called an argument for Van Gogh's sanity.
How you suffered for your sanity.
The song's creation was inspired by McLean sitting with a print of The Starry Night and letting the painting guide his words. He wrote the entire song on a paper bag while looking at the swirling, emotional imagery of Van Gogh's masterpiece, creating lyrics that captured both the beauty and pain of the artist's vision.
Starry, starry night.
The tragedy that McLean captured wasn't just Van Gogh's suicide, but the broader story of a man whose incredible talent was completely unrecognized during his lifetime. Van Gogh sold only one painting while alive and died believing himself to be a failure, never knowing that his work would eventually be seen as some of the greatest art ever created.
What you tried to say to me, how you...
McLean's song gave voice to Van Gogh's suffering while celebrating his artistic genius, creating a lasting memorial to an artist who died thinking the world had rejected him. The song's continued popularity has introduced countless people to Van Gogh's story and art, fulfilling McLean's goal of setting the record straight about a misunderstood genius.
Portraits hung in empty halls.
Number 6. Layla by Derek and the Dominoes. Eric Clapton's 1970 masterpiece was born from one of rock music's most famous love triangles. Clapton had fallen hopelessly in love with Pattie Boyd, who was married to his close friend George Harrison of the Beatles. His obsession was so intense that he formed Derek and the Dominoes as a cover for his feelings, creating what was essentially a musical love letter to a woman he couldn't have. The song's title came from the Persian story, The Story of Layla and Majnun, about a man who goes mad from unrequited love. When Boyd initially rejected his advances, Clapton threatened to start using heroin if she wouldn't run away with him. When she refused, he followed through, beginning a 3-year battle with addiction that nearly destroyed his career. The tragic irony was that Layla took years to become the hit it deserved, much like Clapton's pursuit of Boyd herself. By the time the song found its audience and Boyd eventually left Harrison for Clapton, the relationship that inspired the music was already showing cracks that would lead to its own ending. Number 5. Shannon by Henry Gross. In 1976, Henry Gross created one of the most touching tributes to a beloved pet ever recorded. The song was inspired by a conversation with Beach Boys member Carl Wilson during a tour, when both men discovered they had Irish setters named Shannon. Wilson's revelation that his Shannon had recently been killed by a car moved Gross so deeply that he wrote the song as a memorial. During lunch at Wilson's Los Angeles home, Wilson's dogs raided their meal from the counter. When Gross mentioned his own Irish setter back home, Wilson's face changed as he shared that his Shannon had been tragically struck and killed by a car just months earlier. Gross could see how much pain Wilson was still carrying over the loss. The song's emotional power comes from Gross's ability to capture the unique bond between people and their pets. He wrote from the perspective of someone trying to explain that Shannon was gone, using metaphors about her drifting out to sea to soften death's harsh reality. Gross received thousands of letters from people sharing their own stories of loss. Number 4. Alone Again, Naturally, by Gilbert O'Sullivan.
Alone again, naturally.
Gilbert O'Sullivan's deceptively upbeat 1972 hit created one of the most depressing songs in popular music history. The narrator contemplates suicide after being left at the altar, reflects on his parents' deaths, and questions God's existence, all delivered with a bouncy melody that masks the darkness.
To think that only yesterday I was cheerful, bright, and
Written when O'Sullivan was just 21, the song's matter-of-fact tone made it particularly disturbing. He delivered tales of suicide and death with cheerful detachment, creating an unsettling contrast between the bright music and dark lyrics that stayed with listeners long after the song ended.
alone again, naturally.
The song's success became both blessing and curse. While it gave O'Sullivan his biggest hit, many people assumed it was autobiographical, resulting in concerned calls and letters from fans worried about his mental health. He repeatedly had to explain that the song was fiction, not autobiography.
Despite encouragement from me, no words were ever spoken.
Number 3. Seasons in the Sun, by Terry Jacks.
We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun.
Terry Jacks's 1974 international hit was an English adaptation of Jacques Brel's Le Moribond, The Dying Man. Jacks had personal reasons for connecting with the song after watching his close friend Roger suffer through acute leukemia before dying just 4 months later.
Goodbye, my friend, it's hard to die.
While working as a producer for the Beach Boys, who had attempted but never completed their own version, Jacks was drawn to the song's emotional honesty about mortality. He softened some of Brel's darker elements, but retained the core message about death's finality and the precious nature of time with loved ones. Jacks dedicated his version to Roger, transforming it from a general meditation on death into a specific memorial. The song became his way of processing grief and honoring a friendship cut short by illness.
We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun.
Number 2. Fire and Rain, by James Taylor.
I've seen fire and I've seen rain.
James Taylor's 1970 breakthrough combined 3 devastating experiences: his friend Suzanne Schnurr's suicide, his heroin addiction struggles, and his band The Flying Machines' collapse. He wrote the song in pieces over several months while recording in London.
I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend.
Taylor didn't learn about Suzanne's suicide until 6 months afterward, because friends withheld the news to avoid interfering with his recording sessions. Suzanne had been a fellow patient during his psychiatric hospital stay, and they'd formed a close friendship based on shared depression struggles. The song's verses deal with Taylor's return from England addicted to heroin and his time in mental health facilities, including Austin Riggs Center, where he wrote much of it. His willingness to be honest about depression, addiction, and hospitalization was rare in popular music at the time.
I've seen fire and I've seen rain.
Number 1. American Pie, by Don McLean.
So bye, Miss American Pie.
Don McLean's 1971 epic remains the most famous song about tragedy in popular music. Inspired by the February 3rd, 1959 plane crash that killed Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper, It became both a memorial to lost innocence and a meditation on America's turbulent 1960s.
Do you believe in rock and roll? Can music?
McLean was 13 when he learned about the crash, while delivering newspapers in New Rochelle, New York. Those headlines stayed with him for over a decade before he found a way to express what the loss meant to him and his generation. The song took months to write as McLean crafted what he called a complex parable, using the crash to examine everything that had gone wrong in American culture. He saw it as the moment 1950s rock and roll innocence died, replaced by the darker, more complex culture of the 1960s.
The day the music died.
The crash occurred during a blizzard when Holly chose to charter a small plane rather than continue on the freezing tour bus, killing all 4 occupants instantly and robbing the world of 3 promising young musicians.
He was singing bye bye Miss American Hydro.
These 15 songs remind us that beautiful music often emerges from life's darkest moments. The 1970s were a time when musicians felt free to explore difficult subjects and share vulnerable moments, creating connections that went deeper than entertainment. These artists transformed their worst experiences into gifts for the rest of us, creating music that helps us process difficult experiences and proves that beauty can emerge from darkness. Their willingness to be honest about pain and loss created a legacy extending far beyond their musical careers. If you enjoyed learning about the stories behind these classic songs, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating tales from music history. What other songs from the 1970s do you think had tragic backstories? Let us know in the comments below.